Good morning, ako nga po pala si Reggie and welcome back to Jesus Christ Daily. Basahin po natin ang Joshua chapter 2 verse 9. I know the Lord has given you this land. She told them, we are all afraid of you. Everyone in the land is living in terror. Alam niyo po ba that Rahab the prostitute is already living in the promised land? But she lives in fear and in terror, no? Alam niyo po ba that you can be in the promised land but you still live in fear, live in worry, live in unforgiveness, live in bitterness? You can still live in the mistakes that you have done in the past, and this is not the will of God. So what does this mean? If you are a born again Christian and you are still stuck in your spiritual prostitution, meaning nagpapatuloy ka pa rin sa iyong pagkakasala at born again ka na, you are in the promised land but you will live in fear and in terror. Why? Because this is the conviction of the Holy Spirit that is telling you to turn away completely from your sin. And your flesh is resisting this transition because your spirit wants to live in holiness, but your flesh still insists to live in sin, no? Kaya nga napaka-importante that we should live in the spirit, that we should walk in the spirit and no longer walking according to the lust of the flesh. Bakit? Ito po ang sabi sa Romans. Ang sabi sa Romans chapter 6 verse 13, do not let any part of your body become an instrument of evil to serve sin. Instead, give yourselves completely, kapatid, no? To God, for you were dead, but now you have new life. Meron na po tayong bagong buhay at hindi na po tayo babalik sa ating pong dating pagkatao. So, use your whole body as an instrument to do what is right for the glory of God. Ito po ang sinasabi natin, that we should make a daily decision to glorify God in your body, no? To live in holiness and in righteousness, to set an example. Kapatid, born again ka na. Live as a Christian. You are the salt and the light of this world, no? Sin is no longer your master. Si Jesus na po ang master natin. For you no longer live under the requirements of the law, instead you live under the freedom of God's grace. Well then, since God's grace has set us free from the law, does that mean we can go on sinning? No? Importante po ito. Of course not. No? We are called to holiness and righteousness. We are not free to sin. We are free from sin, no? Don't you realize that you become the slave of whatever you choose to obey? Kapatid, pinalaya ka na ng Panginoon. So now, you are no longer under the dominion of sin. Wala ka ng any obligation to do the demands of sin over your life, no? Sabi rito, don't you realize that you become the slave of whatever you choose to obey? You can be a slave to sin, which leads to death, or you can choose to obey God, which leads to righteous living. Thank God, once you were slaves of sin, but now you wholeheartedly obey this teaching we have given you. Now you are free from your slavery to sin, and you have become slaves to righteous living. Kapatid, malaya ka na. Pinalaya ka na ng ating Panginoong Jesus sa sumpa ng kasalanan. Now live righteously and always choose to honor God in your life. No? Yun lamang po, mag-iingat po kayo and God bless.